Salut! So I see you came back. You're just dying to know what is the third way of forming questions in French. Okay, we've already talked about intonation, est-ce que, forming questions using est-ce que, and here we go. The third one is called inversion. So in order to use inversion, there are a few things that I need to explain to you. So do listen closely because inversion there are a few things about inversion that are a bit trickier than intonation and est-ce que. However, intonation is probably the most commonly used way of forming questions in French, okay, by French people. So it's super important. Here we go. In order to use inversion, main thing you need to do is just invert the subject and the verb. Voila. Let me give you an example. If I say, do you speak French using intonation? You remember how to do that? Tu parles français? If I want to say, do you speak French using est-ce que? Then I just say, est-ce que tu parles français? And it means the same thing. Now, using intonation, if I want to say, do you speak French? I would flip around the subject and the verb, and I would say, parles-tu français? You see how I did that? And in between the subject and the verb, you have to put a hyphen. That subject and that verb will not be separated by anything once they've been attached by that little hyphen. Which means when you're using negation with this kind of question and you want to make that negative, you can't put anything between the parle and the tu. All right? So you would say, ne parles-tu pas français? You see? Because a little bit later, when we're doing the exercises, we're going to practice using negation with these as well. All right, so far so good. I hope that that's not too complicated. Now, here's the thing. If you have, let me give you a different example, still using parler français, but changing the subject to a noun subject. What I mean by that is I'm not saying je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, elle. Those are subject pronouns. But if I want to use subject nouns, it would be something like Jennifer. Okay, that's my name. So, Jennifer, parler français. If I want to say, does Jennifer speak French? Then I would say the noun subject, Jennifer. Then I would invert the subject and the verb. Jennifer parle-t-elle français? Something a little bit different in there. Look at that. Parle-t-elle. It's because when you have a verb that ends in a vowel, like parle, in the third person singular, which is in the il, elle, on form. It ends in a vowel, and you're making the inversion. You see that you have to repeat the subject pronoun. Even though you already said Jennifer, you still have to say elle in the inversion. Jennifer, you can't say parle Jennifer français. It just doesn't work. You have to state the noun subject, Jennifer, then you have to make the inversion using a subject pronoun. In this case, you replace Jennifer with elle, right? She. Jennifer parle-t-elle français? Add the hyphen T hyphen in between parle and elle because you have two vowels right next to each other and it doesn't sound right. Jennifer parle-elle français? Just doesn't sound pretty enough to be French. Jennifer parle-t-elle français? You need that consonant, that T sound in between the verb and the subject in the inverted form to make it sound right. That's the hyphen T hyphen. The only time you need to use that hyphen T hyphen rule is going to be in third person singular. That means when you have a noun subject that can be replaced by il, elle, or on. not with any of the other subjects. Why? Because you simply don't run into the problem that you do in the third person singular. All right? So let me give you another example. How about manger à la cantine? To eat at the cafeteria. Manger à la cantine. And I want you to use the noun subject Jean. How would you do that? Jean mange-t-il à la cantine? You see? So it might sound redundant, in which it actually is, because you have to say Jean, and then you have to restate the subject, but replacing it with il in the inversion. Might seem repetitive, might seem redundant, and it is, but that's the way you have to do it. D'accord? Okay, so let's go and let's work slowly through some exercises, and let's see how you do. So, numéro 1, I'm going to give you the verb in the infinitive form. You will see the noun subject or the subject pronoun written on the screen, whatever it is that I want you to use. You have to conjugate the verb according to the subject that's been written on the screen and use inversion to create a question. Allez, on y va. Numéro 1. Aimer la plage. Aimez-vous la plage? Très bien. Numéro 2. Annuler la réservation. Now be careful. You see on the screen, there you have Bertrand, noun subject. Think about how you do it. Bertrand annule-t-il la réservation? Bien. Numéro 3. Manger au restaurant. Now here, you also have a noun subject, but look at it carefully. Is it singular? No. Les copines is plural, so you're not going to have to deal with that hyphen T hyphen. Go ahead. Les copines mangent-elles au restaurant? Do you see now why you don't need the hyphen T hyphen? Because when your subject is plural, if you look at that verb, les copines mangent-elles au restaurant, you have an ENT. It's usually silent. However, in this situation, it's hyphenated and connected to a subject pronoun, elle, which begins with a vowel. So that T that precedes that vowel is actually pronounced. So you have the T sound, which means you don't have to add another one. Okay. Numéro 4. Retrouver des amis au café. Retrouvons-nous des amis au café? Numéro 5. Habiter à la montagne. Habites-tu à la montagne? Numéro 6. Aimer voyager en avion. Tes parents aiment-ils voyager en avion? Numéro 7. Arriver à la gare à l'heure. Antoine et Virginie arrivent-ils à la gare à l'heure? Et numéro 8. Voyager en première classe. Voyage-t-on en première classe? Hyphen T hyphen, because on, remember, is just like il and elle. It's third person singular. D'accord. Très bien. Let's go through one more exercise. It will give you an opportunity once more to practice using inversion, and this time we're going to add negation into the mix. All I want you to do is make the questions negative. They're the same ones we did before. And remember what I said at the very beginning of this lesson, and that is that once you have a subject or a subject pronoun and a verb that have been attached by a hyphen, nothing, even negation, nothing can come in between that subject and verb, which means you have to put your negation around the whole thing, which means around the verb and the subject that have been stuck together. Okay? For example, aimer la plage, tu as the subject. Aimes-tu la plage? N'aimes-tu pas la plage? You see how I did that? I put the ne before the verb, and I put the pas after the subject pronoun. In this case, ne becomes an apostrophe because the verb aimer begins with a vowel. N'aimes-tu pas la plage? Okay, I'll go through it slowly. Numéro 1. Aimer la plage. N'aimez-vous pas la plage? Do you not like the beach? Numéro 2. Annuler la réservation. Bertrand n'annule-t-il pas la réservation? Numéro 3. Manger au restaurant. Les copines ne mangent-elles pas au restaurant? Numéro 4. Retrouver des amis au café. Ne retrouvons-nous pas des amis au restaurant? Numéro 5. Habiter à la montagne. N'habites-tu pas à la montagne? Numéro 6. Aimer voyager en avion. Tes parents n'aiment-ils pas voyager en avion? 7. Arriver à la gare à l'heure. Antoine et Virginie n'arrivent-ils pas à la gare à l'heure? Et numéro 8, voyager en première classe. Ne voyage-t-on pas en première classe? Très bien. Good job. So remember, intonation, est-ce que, and inversion. These are the 3 ways to form questions in French. And if you need more practice, just go back and look at the videos once more and keep learning French. Très bien. Merci et à bientôt.